Hey, Forge fans, it's the Forge Audio Network. I'm your host, Anthony Urciuoli, teeing up the 905 Derby 2022 edition between Forge FC, York United, taking place in Toronto at York Lions Stadium Friday night. York coming off a draw with Ottawa, 2-2, most recently. And here's what's interesting. In 3 of York's first 4 matches, there's been a red card in the match. Twice that's gone against York. And that was the case against Atletico Ottawa in their last matchup. They did salvage the 1 point despite being served a red card. And before that, an impressive win over Calvary, 2-0. And then a draw and a loss before that. So York has shown what really this league has represented this season. A lot of it's you can call it inconsistency. You can also call it parity. I mean, the reality is 3 or 4 matches, red cards, it completely throws the game out of whack. And maybe it's not an accurate representation of what York is this season. So if we're looking at the one game that was played, 11-on-11, York beating Calvary 2-0 is impressive. Now for Forge, they of course are not coming off a match last week, an impromptu bye week. We'll get more into that momentarily. They were supposed to play Valor, a highly anticipated match against Valor. Did not go down due to some COVID issues. But before that, Forged that dominant 3-0 win over FC Edmonton at Tim Hortons Field. They had a draw against Calvary, 2-2 also at Tim Hortons Field, and then that season opening loss against Pacific, which is pretty far back in the rear view mirror. So let's get back to that bye week that Forge had unexpectedly last week, and Captain Kyle Becker's thoughts on preparations and hitting the reset button and get ready for York.
No, to be honest, it just is what it is. It's so far out of our control. I think the guys just sort of welcome the day off. It is what it is. It gave us a chance to kind of come in, have a competitive inter-squad match against each other, which is very good, and then have a deserved day off, which is always important in the season when you can take advantage of that time to continue to recover and get guys healthy.
There must be just a bit of a different feel just with this season. Just you're used to playing so many games and traveling so much and more downtime, I guess. Does it feel just a little different this year than it has in the past few years?
Yeah, it's a little weird when you think about it, how long it's been since we've had this normalcy and that proper preparation leading up to a game where you have that week to kind of come down from the previous game and then build up towards that next challenge. So it's welcome.
So much parity in the league, and a lot of people just didn't expect it this soon. But you look through the schedule week in, week out, and you're just anyone can play with anybody, and I guess that's good overall for the league. Have you sensed, just you've been here from the start, that the parity is really starting to kind of close the gap?
Yeah, definitely. I think anytime you have a professional league, guys are going to be very competitive. I mean, they're playing for contracts, they're playing for opportunities, they're trying to sort of create a name for themselves, and teams are going to want to win. Obviously, we kind of set a gold standard here at Forge FC, but we have some unfinished business that we want to right from last year, and it's just kind of building off that.
Yeah, your opponent this week is a good example of that parity. The impressive win against Calvary, some struggles maybe when they didn't expect it. But I know you're so used to the players and the teams by now. Are you expecting anything different from York, or is it pretty much the same club that you saw last season?
We've played them a few times in preseason, so we're aware of the opponent. But as you said, they found a way to score goals. They're always going to compete. They're going to make it hard. Obviously, it's a home match for them, which they like playing at home. They like being competitive there. So we just got to go in and make sure we do the business.
Now, the 905 Derby is that built-in geographical rivalry between York and Forge, but it hasn't really translated much on the pitch. Now, Forge head coach and technical director Bobby Smirniotis, not a fan of talking about things off the pitch. So I had to ask anyway about the rivalry with York.
Well, the one thing I can say is they're always entertaining football matches. That's the way I look at it. Not so much of the outside noise and rivalries and so on. I leave that to all of you and the media and the fans to get involved in. For me, it's more important what's happening in the games. And the games, I think, have always been excellent. They've always been a tough team for us to play. Like with every year, there's changeover in squads and things change a little bit this year. York has a new coach, a different approach to how they go about the games, and I think that's what we're looking forward to most for tomorrow night.
And with your club getting healthier now, you mentioned, I think last time we spoke, you said something like 90% approximately, but are you going to have some conversations with some players who, there's only so many minutes to go around, and just about making sure everyone kind of knows their role on the club?
No, I think that's already done at the beginning of the year. That's not something that we reiterate. We work. The one thing I've learned, and the players who have been with me for a while know, and those who are new will find out soon, that all 20, 23, whatever amount of players we have on this roster, including development players, will play a role throughout the season. And we work with every single one of them day in and day out to be prepared for that. And as we get into this next stretch of games, we start going with we've got this game, we've got a midweek game, we go Sunday, and it kind of builds up a little bit over these next couple of weeks. So it's a good time for everyone to be healthy, and performance dictates what you do on the pitch. And I think the guys are well aware of that.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Anthony. Next question will go over to Tiago Schwark. Go ahead, Tiago.
Thanks, Nico. Hey, Bobby, how are you?
Doing well.
I guess I'm just going to go with the similar questions I asked in the previous pressers. Regarding Brownie and Welshman, I just wanted to ask if they're going to feature tomorrow, or if there's going to be in the bench, or if there's still visa and injury issues with Brownie, as you said last time. And yeah, same for Welshman. I believe you said he had a knock or something. I'm not really sure. So I was just wondering.
With Welshman, I think he's there. There's a good chance we see him tomorrow and slowly start picking up his minutes. And with Brownie, the situation is kind of out of my hands and a little bit unknown. So we continue to work with the guys that we have here, but we hope that Emery can get some minutes tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, I think as of midweek next week, he starts getting into the lineup and start being an important part of this team.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Tiago. Next question will go to Mitchell Tierney. Go ahead, Mitch.
Obviously a bit of an unexpected week off last week. What were the pros and cons of that, both in terms of, I know it's early in the season, so you wanted probably to stay in rhythm, but also, like you mentioned, getting more healthy and that opportunity to, take that week off.
Yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks of training, coming up to that game that was postponed with Valor. I thought we had our best week of training, and the guys are ready to go. And like you mentioned, you want the rhythm early in the year. I don't like a lot of rest. We've been used to going quite often with games, and I think then makes this one a little bit more interesting. We've had time to work on a few different things that we want to work on, but I think the guys are prepared. Yes, they're ready. So energy shouldn't be an issue when we come out tomorrow night. But rhythm is an important thing early on in the year, and that's why I think we've seen results across the league the way they are. Teams trying to get into things a little bit and trying to get into their ways.
And York have quite the attacking side they've built. One of those names certainly so far is De Rosario, who could tie Tristan Borges' record for most consecutive games with a goal. Does that give you a little extra, impetus to shut them down this weekend?
Yeah, most importantly, it's of course we want to shut them down. What we always want to do is make sure that nothing goes into our goal, whether it's De Rosario, Ferrari, whoever else is on the field. I think for us the most important thing is that we implement our game plan and what we want to do in the match. They've shown that they're a dangerous team. They're a dangerous team in different facets of the way they attack, with their wide play and counter-attacking play. And on the flip side, they've done a pretty good job on the defensive side of things. I know the results haven't been fully the way they've wanted, but it's not for a lack of defensive effort. So I think they're a well-balanced team both ways. Like I said in the past, I think the teams match up pretty well in the way they play, a little bit different this year. And that's the biggest thing we're looking forward to, is that challenge that they're bringing. They're a team that brings a lot of energy to the field. De Rosario is one of those guys that brings energy to their lineup, and we'll see how it goes tomorrow night.
And you've matched up against Martin and several times, on the Calgary touchline. What will this mean to play against them the first time as York head coach? Yeah, we actually played a couple of times in preseason, so we got those formalities out of the way. He's a great guy that I've had a good relationship just from knowing through the league. And it's his team. It's a little bit different than Cavalry, and he's working on that. So I think when the whistle blows, it's more about the 22 players on the pitch and not what me and Martin are doing. I think our job is mostly done, I'd like to say at that point, apart from tinkering with a few things
But taking all that stuff aside, 3 points is important for us tomorrow night. It's a road game. We want to be able to get on the positive side of where we are in the standings and work our way that way with having that game postponed last week.
Now, Forge is getting healthier. If you listen to the first ever edition of Behind the Beard, my weekly chats with head coach Bobby Smirniotis, he mentioned that the club was around 90% healthy, which is it's big because it certainly didn't start out that way early in the season. They've kind of weathered the storm. Guys have played out of position. Some young guys have gotten some meaningful minutes. And I guess that's been the silver lining, is it's nice to get those guys in, and also the versatility's been tested, and it's not a bad thing to test early in the year. Of course, you don't want anyone injured or unhealthy, but that's just the reality of the sport. And so Forge now getting healthier. Now, one of those players who is called upon to show off some of his versatility in the midfield and even being called upon to step back and play some defense as well, Alex Ashinyote Janssen spoke about his club getting healthier.
Like you said, we're starting to get some bodies back, and I think we've been needing that. That's been some games where we've had to make some adjustments, but I think we've been doing it well. Some players playing out of position, but I think we've handled it very well. And as you've seen during the games, I think we've been pretty comfortable in and on the ball. It's just been details why the results haven't gone our way every game, but I think we're working something good.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Next question will go over to Mitchell Tierney. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, a bit of an unexpected week off for you guys. What was that like? Where you're all prepared for Valor, and then all of a sudden you've got to switch gears and obviously York this weekend.
It was a bit weird because you went home Friday and thought you were going to travel the next day, right? But instead you got the message that it's not going to happen at all. But I think we pushed harder in training during the weekend and got like our game fitness in anyway. So all in all, it's been, not that we needed it, but it's been a bit more of a like relaxation, and we can properly prepare for this Friday's game. And then we got a bit more intense schedule coming up with cup games and stuff. So if there was any time to have this little break, it could be good now that we're going into a period where it's going to be a bit more.
And on the defensive side, Osaz Di Rosario could tie Tristan Borges' record for most consecutive games with a goal if he scores against you guys. Is that a little bit of extra incentive to maybe shut down York?
I don't really think about that kind of stuff. I never want to concede goals, so that's all the incentive. That's all the incentive I need for not having them score.
All right, the stage is set. 9:05 Derby Friday night. York United hosting your Forge FC at York Lions Stadium. Don't forget, keep it locked to the Forge Audio Network. Enjoy the match.